Okay, guys, so we're going to go over the student expectations for the class because we don't get to do that on a daily basis. Usually we don't have time, so since it's the start of a new semester, I would like to go over that with you now. Here's what I expect you to do as part of this class. When we all do these things, we'll have an awesome class. Make sure you're responding when your name is called. You're responding to polling prompts. You're asking and answering questions. You're going to complete classwork, take notes, submit exit tickets when requested. Collaborate in groups if you're placed in breakout rooms. Don't let your classmates do all the work. Demonstrate respect for classmates and teachers at all times. Marking yourself away means you are not in class and will miss important parts of the lesson. So I don't have a problem with you doing this as long as you mention to me what's going on. If you're having a situation or you're not on your game today for whatever reason, I'm very understanding of that as long as you are able to communicate that to me. Send me a private message or an email before class and we will work together. If something's going on, make sure that you call tech support to work with you if something's going on with your computer. Here are our class participation keys. So if you see these things on the board, this is how I'm going to expect you to participate. Most of the time we are using your polling tools. You're chatting in the chat box, either chatting publicly or you can private message me at any time, and that's okay too. Getting on the mic is one of my favorite things. I love to hear your perspectives and your voices. Copy for your notes. Write on the whiteboard. We do that frequently. Raise your hand. That alerts me that you're having a question. Volunteer to read. We always need readers in our class and work in breakout rooms. Today we're just talking about what do I do now that semester 1 has ended. How to navigate the course. We have a lot of new students coming in mid-year. What is new this semester in Lab 1 and what will we be learning? This is me for those of you. I know that I was not here at the beginning of the year, so many of you, I just came in and you were like, oh, what happened to our old teacher? Well, I had this little baby here. His name is Luke. He's going to be about 6 months old on February 7th, and that's my youngest little guy. That's me and my daughter, Ruthie, up at the top. Just a little bit about me so you don't wonder who I am. This is my oldest son, Nicholas, and actually this is a very old picture of him. He's 15 and a half now. Obviously, he doesn't look that. That was when we went on our cruise. Here's my little guy, Bodie, and Daisy. Yes, I have quite a few children, don't I? But that's me, and this is Bodie when he was a little baby. I dressed up as a doctor. I am Miss Patrick, so feel free to call me Miss Patrick, Miss P. That's my phone number. You can text me or call me anytime. But I know most of you are going to be emailing me, so I try to get back to my emails as soon as I get them. Usually if it's after school hours, I'll get back to you the next morning. All right, let's celebrate that we are now halfway through the school year. Woohoo! Internet hug, internet high five. We are at we're starting over. This is a new start for you. You guys know I'm always an advocate of starting over for yourself and putting your best foot forward now. Who cares what you did semester A? You can't go back now. You got what you got, but you can go forward now. So set a goal for yourself. What do you want to do going forward this school year? How do you want to do? Because you can start over now. You can still pass the year for this semester. If you failed the first semester, it's not okay, but it is because you can go forward now and just say, I'm going to complete all of the work. I'm going to do my best now. And I keep doing that. See? Everyone makes mistakes. All right, we made it. Semester 1 is over. So let's breathe, relax, and prepare for semester 2. It starts today. Start strong and keep working hard until the last day, and you will be successful. Failing is just another word for growing, and you keep going. This is learning, knowing you will get it, even if you haven't gotten it yet. Okay, so right now we're going to watch a video about you can learn anything.
Nobody's born smart. We all start at zero. Can't talk. Can't walk. Certainly can't do algebra. Adding, reading, riding a bike. Nobody's good at anything at first. There was a time when Einstein couldn't count to 10. And Shakespeare had to learn his ABCs just like the rest of us. Thankfully, we're born to learn. Slowly, surely, you stumble, slip, crawl, fall, and fail, and fall. Frustrating, confusing, trying, struggling, until one day, you walk. One foot in front of the other, one idea on top of the next, each wrong answer making your brain a little bit stronger. Failing is just another word for growing, and you keep going. This is learning. Knowing that you'll get it, even if you haven't gotten it yet. Because the most beautiful, complex concepts in the whole universe are built on basic ideas that anyone, anywhere, can understand. Whoever you are, wherever you are, you only have to know one thing. You can learn anything.
When I was 27 years old, I left a very demanding job in management consulting for a job that was even more demanding, teaching. I went to teach 7th graders math in the New York City public schools. And like any teacher, I made quizzes and tests, I gave out homework assignments. When the work came back, I calculated grades. What struck me was that IQ was not the only difference between my best and my worst students. Some of my strongest performers did not have stratospheric IQ scores. Some of my smartest kids weren't doing so well. And that got me thinking. The kinds of things you need to learn in 7th grade math, sure, they're hard. Ratios, decimals, the area of a parallelogram. But these concepts are not impossible. And I was firmly convinced that every one of my students could learn the material if they worked hard and long enough. After several more years of teaching, I came to the conclusion that what we need in education is a much better understanding of students and learning from a motivational perspective, from a psychological perspective. In education, the one thing we know how to measure best is IQ. But what if doing well in school and in life depends on much more than your ability to learn quickly and easily? So I left the classroom and I went to graduate school to become a psychologist. I started studying kids and adults in all kinds of super challenging settings. And in every study, my question was, who is successful here and why? My research team and I went to West Point Military Academy. We tried to predict which cadets would stay in military training and which would drop out. We went to the National Spelling Bee and tried to predict which children would advance farthest in competition. We studied rookie teachers working in really tough neighborhoods, asking which teachers are still going to be here in teaching by the end of the school year. And of those, who will be the most effective at improving learning outcomes for their students? We partnered with private companies asking which of these salespeople is going to keep their jobs and who's going to earn the most money. In all those very different contexts, one characteristic emerged as a significant predictor of success. And it wasn't social intelligence, it wasn't good looks, physical health, and it wasn't IQ. It was grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. Grit is having stamina. Grit is sticking with your future, day in, day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years, and working really hard to make that future a reality. Grit is living life like it's a marathon, not a sprint. A few years ago, I started studying grit in the Chicago public schools. I asked thousands of high school juniors to take grit questionnaires, and then waited around more than a year to see who would graduate. Turns out that grittier kids were significantly more likely to graduate, even when I matched them on every characteristic I could measure. Things like family income, standardized achievement test scores, even how safe kids felt when they were at school. So it's not just at West Point or the National Spelling Bee that grit matters, it's also in school, especially for kids at risk for dropping out. To me, the most shocking thing about grit is how little we know, how little science knows about building it. Every day, parents and teachers ask me, how do I build grit in kids? What do I do to teach kids a solid work ethic? How do I keep them motivated for the long run? The honest answer is, I don't know. What I do know is that talent doesn't make you gritty. Our data show very clearly that there are many talented individuals who simply do not follow through on their commitments. In fact, in our data, grit is usually unrelated or even inversely related to measures of talent. So far, the best idea I've heard about building grit in kids is something called growth mindset. This is an idea developed at Stanford University by Carol Dweck, and it is the belief that the ability to learn is not fixed, that it can change with your effort. Dr. Dweck has shown that when kids read and learn about the brain and how it changes and grows in response to challenge, they're much more likely to persevere when they fail because they don't believe that failure is a permanent condition. So growth mindset is a great idea for building grit, but we need more. And that's where I'm going to end my remarks, because that's where we are. That's the work that stands before us. We need to take our best ideas, our strongest intuitions, and we need to test them. We need to measure whether we've been successful, and we have to be willing to fail, to be wrong, to start over again with lessons learned. In other words, we need to be gritty about getting our kids grittier. Thank you.
Okay, guys, so after watching that TED Talk, how do you define grit? Do you have grit? Ask yourself that question. Grit is sticking with your future day in, day out, and not just for the week, not just for the month, but for the years. Continuous effort, not strength or intelligence, is the key to unlocking our potential. Fresh start. So get that grit going. That's what you have. All right, let's talk about, do you know any of these authors? We have Anne Frank. You all should know Anne Frank. That was a trick one over here because we already read Anne Frank. But how about William Shakespeare? Have you ever heard of him? Maya Angelou, Gwendolyn Brooks, William Ernest Henley, E.E. Cummings. Have you ever heard of them or know who they are? Maybe you do. Well, you're going to learn about them this quarter. We're going to be doing short stories. We're going to be reading To Kill a Mockingbird, our novel. We're going to be reading Romeo and Juliet, our drama. And we're going to have a poetry unit, which is really exciting. The short stories we'll be reading are The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe, The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. So both a little bit creepy, actually. If you like creepy things, I think you'll like the short stories. Our novel, To Kill a Mockingbird, is a classic, one of the best. If you haven't read it yet, you're going to, and I'm telling you that I don't know one student who doesn't enjoy it. Of course, our assignments are going to be very similar to semester 1. We're going to be doing our daily checkpoints, our unit test in each unit. We'll have Free Write Fridays, which I absolutely love, and 2 constructive responses. We're halfway through the school year, so 2 unit tests and 2 constructive responses remain for the rest of this school year. Can you guys believe that? Okay, so right now we're going to go over some course navigation. How do you know what assignments are due each week? Where will you go? What is going on? I'm going the wrong way. Where will you go to access daily checkpoints? And how can you tell if you have past due assignments? So right now, I would love for you guys to look at these 3 questions. How do you know what assignments are due each week? Where will you go to access checkpoints? Most of you know the answers to these questions. And how can you tell if you have past due assignments? I want you to answer these questions in a private message to me.